Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our hosts, Sri Rajgopalan, Peter V.S. Bond, and Brian Gildenberg, explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys.
Hello, folks, and welcome to this episode of the CPG Guys podcast. I'm, of course, Sri, your co-founder and co-host of the CPG Guys, and also co-founder and partner at Think Blue. Your key to unlocking your profitability potential. As builders, connectors, and amplifiers, we shape the future of commerce to drive your growth. Please do listen to my older daughter, Ria Raj's music, and my younger daughter, Lara Raj, is a member of the Geffen Records, UMG. Cat's Eye Band, while my wife, Kavita Raj, has her own podcast, Lights, Camera, Convo, on iHeartRadio and all streaming platforms. Ria, of course, can be found at www.riaraj.com. That's R-H-E-A-R-A-J. In June, all four of us will have our very own broadcasting media mechanism, a podcast. Join me today is Peter V.S. Bond, and when he's not co-hosting this podcast, he serves as Partnership Acceleration Lead at Flywheel, a division of Omnicom that helps enterprise brands improve their SEO and SEM, growing their e-commerce businesses. Peter, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Sri. I'm really pleased with since you exited the W-2 world of corporate America, how much you've picked up and adopted on this traveling roadshow of trade events. You've been so far this year to Possible. You went to NACDS. You're heading over to Shop Talk Europe. You and I are going to Cannes. It's crazy. You have more stops than Taylor Swift on the Eras Tour. What's going on?
I thought you'd say Air Force One. I'm disappointed you downgraded me to the Eras Tour, but I'll take it for now. Well, Peter, part of a journey of being in media is where the action is. There's a lot of action at these conferences. All of them have not evolved, and not covering them is not okay. So I think our audience should expect that the CPG guys will be reporting out a lot more. You missed the Nielsen 360 conference in between in Phoenix. That was a big one. For those of you who are following or those of you who missed it, we had 2 days of live coverage, pretty much every keynote, as well as plenty of Nielsen IQs showcases across the board. Nielsen IQ, of course, we kind of concluded here, your partner of choice for full view retail measurement. So, Peter, thank you for joining me, making time for this awesome conversation. But before we get to our guests, we want to ask you to help spread the word about this community we've created in the CPG Guys. Beyond sharing a podcast with your friends, if you're using Apple or Spotify as your preferred listening platform, leave us a rating. It helps feed the algorithm. It makes us more findable by CPG retail people like you looking for both education and entertainment, but most importantly, your rating tells Peter and me, are we having the right conversations? Do we have the right guests? We're happy that the CPG Guys is part of an impressive collective of highly rated podcasts, including CPG Scoop with Risa and Jennifer, and the FMCG Guys with Daniel, Efrain, and Christine. Finally, we're incredibly proud of our allyship with Next Up, whose mission is to advance the cause of women in business and to promote gender equality in the workplace. Next Up has terrific educational and networking resources available to its members. I, of course, serve on the board of directors leading the development committee of Next Up. Links to our podcast, our sister cast, our landing page on Next Up, and the social media profiles of my daughters, Ria and Laura. My wife's podcast may be found in the digital liner notes of this episode. So it's time to get going. And as retail media continues to develop and the number of retailers with the network mushrooms here on the CPG Guys, we keep the conversation going so we can collectively as brands and retailers deliver the best outcomes for our consumers. How do we do that? We routinely talk to the RMN leaders from across the countries, regional, super regions, mass, club, dollar, grocery, national. We've had them all on our show. And when we do feature such a leader, we get into metrics, success parameters, what constitutes good campaigns, and what the future holds. And keeping on in that spirit, we have today our repeat guest, who is well on his way to earning the prize leather jacket of the CPG Guys, Abi Subramanian, Group Vice President, Customer Marketing and Loyalty at Walgreens Media Network. This is the first time, Peter, we've had someone from Walgreens on the show. Isn't that true?
No, actually not true. We actually had Katie Voigt on the show a couple of years ago, who's also part of Abi's group. So, but someone leading the charge on the advertising group. No, this is the first time we've had someone of Abi's incredible stature.
Thank you, Sri and Peter. Thanks for having me. And I'm excited to get the jacket. And it's a pleasure earning this part and, having to be here the third time in the podcast. And I'm looking forward to this conversation.
We got to get you to fight for the jacket, and that will happen at some point. But before we get started with our Q&A, segment here. Can you give us a quick overview of your current role and remit as the VP of the Walgreens Media Network?
Absolutely. I lead our customer marketing, loyalty, both the buy and the sell side of the media, the enterprise media and the Walgreens Advertising Group. Super excited for this opportunity to maximize the working media dollars. And we intentionally collided this organization together, brought it under growth side of the marketing, and the opportunity to really infuse a lot of these dollars coming back into the P&L. And that's what I'm really excited about. And working alongside the leadership that's really thinking through turning this massive organization around through the transformation that we're going through, and the opportunity to really build a customer-centric team together to get this right as part of this transformation. I'm super excited about that.
Awesome, Abi. Thank you for that overview. In the digital liner notes of this episode, we'll include links to your LinkedIn profile, of course, Walgreens company corporate websites for our listeners to access while we go on with this conversation. So, welcome back, like I said. Since we last had you here, you moved over to Walgreens. You've been there for a few months now, a few weeks now. What are your early observations on Walgreens Retail Media Network? Again, I carefully ask you not Walgreens, but Walgreens Retail Media Network, because you're squarely in the middle of it and building the future.
Absolutely. To just set the stage, I believe it's been almost 4 years now since Walgreens Advertising Group was launched. And let me just intentionally say that it's more than just a media network. It's our omnichannel commerce platform and the personalization engine that we proudly call it, to really leveraging insights from 100 million plus loyalty members and 1 billion plus daily digital touch points with our customers to bring brands a more meaningful way to connect with them and deliver personalized experiences while shopping at Walgreens. And unlike other RMNs, it was a little bit of a surprise for me, but quite fascinating to see where we all started. Started with WAG, with our offsite first approach, leveraging our loyalty program and enabling direct access to my Walgreens members to drive them in store. And obviously, driven by a scaled loyalty gateway platform where brands can truly understand what's going on with their participating categories, what's driving sales, share of volume, enabling the right price, promo, and assortment decisions, right? And obviously supported by a very strong consultative client services team, great talented folks, really leaning in to bring the use case driven approach, starting the conversation, truly understanding the problem statements, understanding whether it's for a product launch or driving category penetration or cross category shopping, to then pull a tailored media solution for our clients is quite fascinating. And we look at digital and e-commerce as the avenue to drive the right overall shopping experience for our customers, and making shopping at Walgreens as convenient as possible, allowing them to shop wherever, whenever they want, obviously online, in store, but buy online, pick up in store, and the traction that we have seen through delivery partners such as DoorDash and Instacarts of the world, where we are seeing incrementally new customers coming on board and shopping with us. We're able to expand on our on-site ad units with then the amount of traffic that we are gaining as we're growing the digital engagement with those shoppers and on-site search within our owned and operated to drive that conversion.
Abi, welcome back to the podcast. We're so happy to have you. I told Shri earlier, I said for Abi's promo photo that we'll put on LinkedIn, I said, we've got to get Abi's Red Nose Day picture. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's Walgreens' commitment to a charitable pursuit. I know, I want to see that. I absolutely want to do that. But in any event, Avi, you've had a tremendous amount of experience in loyalty and retail media, from Sam's Club to more recently Lowe's. How have those two particular experiences shape your plans for what you're doing at Walgreens from a loyalty and a consumer engagement perspective?
Love the question, Peter. Let me start off with where I started my journey, right? From a career standpoint, I grew up taking on several roles consciously at the intersection of what I would call marketing, technology and consumer engagement. And super excited to bring the growth side of the marketing all together in my current role at Walgreens and be able to work along the leadership that I just talked about, purposefully colliding the organization and getting this right. And it was a natural evolution for me personally from, having had the opportunity to start off with management consulting side of the work coming out of the school, where I quickly learned why asking the right questions, first of all, is so important, and to understand the problem statement first and help craft it right, working on fast-paced engagements to solve different kinds of problems within retail and tech industry, serving best of the fortune clients, getting grounded with reasoning, and really articulating the purpose and understanding the why behind what I would call the ask, and to work with a wide variety of leaders with different leadership traits really helped shape me to who I am today. And could not have wished for a better setup, obviously, than Walmart, where I started my journey full-time on the corporate side, switching over from the consulting phase. And I did experience a bit of shock, right? And learning to play to my strengths while building consensus, bringing people along to pave way for the priorities, building growth mindset, and working towards common milestones and getting things done at the end of the day. In that progress, I naturally gravitated towards initiatives that directly impacted P&L. And that then gave visibility into what I would call, working closely with key leaders and executives within the organization. And it was an interesting time around, you guys would vividly remember 2012, 2013, when Amazon entered advertising. And I happened to be at Walmart, being Fortune 1, but still ingrained with traditional retail, brick and mortar approach within that environment, starting to feel the pressure and in the early discovery of finding alternative ways to generate profit and operating income, right? So gone are those days where you buy something and you sell something and you make money in between. But that's also when Walmart is going through massive digital transformation, e-commerce booming, understanding ways of working to then leverage our big in-store presence to fight the fight and leverage the omnichannel setup to thrive in parallel. And so we started really looking into the data, traffic, supply chain, all these assets we could leverage to monetize, and what really gave birth to what I would call the new revenue streams, such as retail media. And from there to now, in early 2024, almost approaching 2025, now retail media is just not about new revenue stream. It's shifting gears into really thinking about delivering those richer omnichannel experiences, consumer experiences, and how do you kind of get that right? This has now become the primary ways and means of how do you deliver those rich personalized experiences and in commerce platforms across to be able to facilitate the shopping experience and drive the needed conversion, right? And then I would also say, just to step back a little, a blessing and the cursing of being a marketer, you get to work on the cutting edge, but at the same time, being classified as being part of a support side of the organization, trying to be purposefully intentional here and having to always defend through ROI and fight the fight for the right marketing spend. And it was increasingly becoming harder in the traditional setup, right? With budgets starting to be more flat to declining. And if things go south, and we all have witnessed this, marketing was usually the first of the few places to cut it, right? And so second, really with that context, really started understanding the importance of aligning internal teams to bring the integrated opportunities to the brands through the RMN setup, right? So worked with great leaders along the way who really leaned in, encouraged, pulled forward to think differently and to see the growth wave ahead of us, really allowed us to make that shift quickly after getting exposure, building these marketing capabilities, loyalty platforms, and whatnot, and to really pave the way to build the advertising business from the scratch. And that really gave me the exposure to work with those cross-functional leaders, merchants, different functions, to define what I would call the charter. And very soon it became more of what's the teeth into that framework and why the broader organization should bite into it. So we had to go down the path of looking at all the growth that we are experiencing, the triple-digit growth, going into COVID, with the battle into the 2-day shipping and same day, and really closing down and leaning with the ultra convenience, that really like inflated the P&L, but also caused equal, if not more, dent into the bottom line, right? So we had to like really pull ourselves in at a C-level, and with all the leaders and merchants included, to rethink our strategy, negotiating with our brands, and the opportunity to really partner closely together to drive the right top line, but also put this from the context of whatever it takes to spend the trade dollars towards price and promotions to secure those items into the shelf. We also started looking at the cost to actually reach out to the consumers and the opportunity to really think about how do you leverage that opportunity to go get these dollars to put that to work harder for us, and got grounded on that reasoning and created that flywheel. And with all of that value proposition and exchange in place, it really allowed the organization to bite into this value proposition and exchange and paved way for the growth, right? And that's, to me, a combination of like what you need to go through. It's not an easy battle, but you got to develop the thicker skins and have the right leaders, the champions, to make the right business case. And there are retailers like Walmart who have done this really well. And I'm very fascinated to actually see this kind of a lean in and support with Walgreens as well in my new role.
Abi, thank you for the history lesson, first of all, on how RMNs came to be born in the United States. We should do a separate video just on that. And also for talking about some leadership experiences here and not just about the industry. So I'm going to jump right into the Walgreens Media Network now and just take it right up top. Important question. What makes Walgreens Media Network's value proposition unique that in a very crowded field for retail media that brands should come look to you?
Yeah, it's a scale of our first party data, our loyalty platform, gaining access to the purchase signals, and the opportunity to connect directly with our shoppers, members, patients, we call it, in a connected omnichannel ecosystem, and the ability to really talk to them, drive awareness, the stickiness, the engagement, and the conversion. It's absolutely table stakes. And in fact, having a strong loyalty program such as ours is only going to strengthen the value exchange that we offer to our brands and make this flywheel work really harder for us in driving the right top line and the bottom line impact overall. And I'm seeing this really being unpacked in my current role because I get to see both sides of the equation. And our vision is to start with what I would call, maybe I'm oversimplifying this intentionally, but with one view of the customer versus a siloed approach, so you can improve the customer experience and be very, very thoughtful, creating meaningful touch points. And it also helps to optimize the media spend, right? It doesn't matter if it's our dollars or brand dollars. And our customers don't think about loyalty or digital media or retail media, right? When they see the display ads, when they see any notification kicking in, they just think about what is Walgreens as a retailer trying to communicate to me. So our back of the store pharmacy and the synergy that it brings with our front of the store convenience, the retail side of not only coming in to pick up the scripts, medications for our patients, but also quickly shopping, like I said, on the retail side and enabling that convenience factor, it's a lot more compelling. And our brands and pharma companies are understanding that. And what I would call, it's paving the way for us as an RMN to be a category specialist in this convenience channel. And quite honestly, this kind of consumer base is very hard for brands to ignore. And we do believe that this is going to really help us put some strong foundation in and qualify into a volume play and allow us to stretch beyond just our CPGs manufacturers. We are starting to see pharma companies leaning in as we are investing on the healthcare side of it. There's data monetization opportunities, long and short of it, the first party data, the purchase signals, the pharmacy scripts and like the patient's behavior and the health services that we have to offer, packaged all of this together, is quite hard to ignore. And I do believe it brings a very unique value exchange for our brands and pharma companies.
So, Abi, let's talk about how you bring a relevant platform, particularly to a manufacturer beyond the trade team that Walgreens is most accustomed to dealing with. What are you offering that's making your Walgreens Advertising Group full funnel in nature? And how are you finding ways to really make that resonate with a group of economic buyers, the brand managers, that up until now you haven't had much engagement with?
And we started off with a typical managed service, offsite first approach, and we leveraged our strengths to play it in store, including but not limited to some of the shelf tags and physical brand equity ads that we put out there in the aisle, and all of that has evolved into now what I would call thinking about the tools and technology to drive the overall media performance, right? And it all starts with enabling what I would call this insights to activation framework through this connected platform that will then directly connect those insights to audiences for activation with high performing media strategy in place, right? So we have typically done, like any other RMN, figured out the mid to the lower funnel, and we are now building our relationships with Trade Desk, Epsilon. We use the Core ID and the LiveRamp as set of the onboarders, and now opening up that view into more of the upper funnel as well. And we use our own dollars, integrated media dollars, to test some of the upper funnel, prove the validity, and then get some of the brands onboarded to expand into CTV and some of the addressable TV, and with the core retention focused in mind, because we're still in this battling ground of making sure that we bring our shoppers frequently back into the stores. And then really enabling that with like daily in-flight campaign results and incremental sales to optimize the media and driving the ROI. It's actually starting to be a lot more compelling for those brands and agencies too. And that allows us to go have these conversations with media holding companies and agencies, because they are our new, what you call the B2B clients, right? I mean, we are not gone are those days where we are just talking to the local shopper marketing folks, but we are actually talking to the agencies, the media holding companies. Even though brands want to spend the dollars, we have to still convince another pool of people to get this going, right? So the elevated media strategy with some of these efficiencies in CPMs and whatnot has become more like table stakes now, and always on media, right? And nobody can ignore that with like expanded lower funnel channels that I just talked about. But along with this full funnel approach, it really allows us to go get those bigger brand dollars that were not prioritized before, right? And we actually learn from some of the bigger retailers as well, and we want to grab a fair share of the dollars to position Walgreens Advertising Group to own some of those brand dollar execution as well. And with the breadth of audience and the data, with the reduced rates that I just talked about, with the opportunity to open up the aperture with like scaled media solutions, it's going to really allow us to work with our brands deeply beyond just those mid and the lower funnel, right? And I would probably take this opportunity to also talk about some of our new omni-channel capabilities that we are building. You heard me talk about starting the story with offsite and then building the onsite with an owned and operated. With my new role, we are now starting to think about our CRM journeys, customer lifetime value, right? And the new access to our audiences and premium inventory, opening up our own channels like email, push, organic social, and then how do you show up more in terms of building the brand equity. And then there are moments in time where you have to be focused on driving traffic into those core moments and being able to drive the conversion for our brands and those quick trips and focus on building the basket. that's really what is really appealing, right? And all of this cannot be done without even introducing a self-service model now with the complexity involved. And so I'm super excited to, share with you guys that we are in the process of working with Trade Desk and allowing our syndicated audiences, curated audiences that brands can come in and grab, right? So very strong believer of like not putting a cage around our audiences. And look, there's so much fragmentation going on, right? I mean, all these agencies and brand like partners, they have like 100 different partners to go work with. And at the end of the day, they're not seeing efficiencies. So the sooner we kind of make this available in those commerce platforms, the easier for us to kind of facilitate and meet them where they are and still prove the validity of the first party data. And guess what? They have to come back to us to see the conversion. And that's the hook that we are able to create. And, out of all the past executions and the retail media businesses that I've built, I'm super excited about WAG because, obviously we started off with Epsilon, Code ID. We just launched our partnership with LiveRamp. So we are actually giving preferences to brands to choose the onboarders and come and grab the audiences in more of a DSP agnostic environment. So we are going to be myopically focused on enabling that scale, which we believe is going to really kick off that flywheel. And last but not the least, I would like to talk more about what we are working on the in-store side. Oh my gosh, that's like have the cake and eat it too kind of a scenario where we are seeing 60 million worth of audiences showing up on a monthly basis, the opportunity to have the right digital touch points when our customers are at the aisle shopping, influencing them to grab that extra item in the basket allows us to really get this all delivered meaningfully.
Hold that thought, Abi. We're going to get to it in a very, very hot minute. Don't worry.
But let me first remind the audience, I'm speaking to Abi Subramanian, VP of Customer Marketing and Loyalty at Walgreens Media Network. We're going to get to in-store in a bit. But how do you help measure success? Because for every brand that wants to invest with you, you're talking about a compelling proposition of full funnel marketing over here, but it's a crowded field. People have to be very judicious about what dollars go, and a vote is often going to go on that can help measure success and quantify metrics. So what do you guys make available, and how do you convince a brand or work with a brand to say, hey, you've been successful in a campaign, therefore you need to come back?
Really well thought out question there. We have enabled what I would call the closed loop reporting, right? And not to hit the I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but for all channels, including in-store attribution, to get the media attributable ROAS. And we also do like incremental test versus control reads through lift studies through the Circana platform and understand the true incremental ROI across the key channels, on-site, off-site, social, and in-store included, right? And then gone are those days where you're just reporting out on the performance of the campaigns like 8 to 10 weeks after it was executed, and media performance is shared with the ROAS number, looks all grossy and like, bright stories around, $30, $40 ROAS. But I think brands have started to realize that they're not able to tie that piece into what's going on within their categories at the end of the day when they look at their month-end quarterly reports to understand how much did they progress to drive that penetration and drive the growth within the categories they participate in. So these are primarily still answering what happened, but we also believe in being more proactive about it to that lens and enable insights for brands to plan their programs, keep a tab on what's going on, within the participating categories. Where are they winning? What are they doing? Who's shopping? Who is not? And all of this is going to really help craft the problem statement that I just talked about, the opportunity, and drive the right actions towards this. So our vision is built on this purpose to create a flywheel and be able to like go after these core elements of the media platform, starting from audience building to all the way to the infrastructure to facilitate the closed loop reporting we just talked about, targeting, measurement, and be able to like come in and grab the media metrics as needed, right, in a more self-serve manner. So our goal is to really help leverage advanced analytics to get these insights quickly into our media agencies that delivers a lot of confidence for them that the dollars are being wisely spent. It's actually working hard. You can look at it from a CAC standpoint. You can look at it from like efficiency standpoint. And then, what you're doing is you're making it simple for them from a math standpoint. Then you're stopping them from comparing this with like other crazy executions they do, shooting into the black box, not knowing what they're getting. So it's the opportunity to grab the ground and to be able to articulate clearly that they can still track the customers. And coming out of the media programs, they can track customers over time through the platform that we are enabling now and build that lifetime value as well. And in the last statement, I would just put it out there to Sri's point, it has now become a holy grail. Like, it's not just RMN. Like I went in front of my CFO's office with chief of retail, my boss, and the growth officer, and the conversation is, I don't understand what your MMM is saying, because your MMM is articulating that you're kicking ass and delivering amazing results. But at the end of the day, we are still down on the retail forecast by 2%, right? And so the opportunity to pierce through that and then break it down, not speak the marketer language, but put this down in a crazy environment like this to like direct consumer marketing, like search, social, display, and articulating how we are pivoting and putting our dollars to work efficiently. On top of it, the brand dollars to come in and work efficiently. And that's really helping us gain some real grounds in a tough time period like this and be able to really articulate the impact in the conversion, right? And then I can further break it down. We are working on the opportunity to further show like new to the brands, some of the breaks around like buy online, pick up in store, what's going on with the third-party delivery, what's the market share, what's the leakage, and really kind of articulate those opportunities for the brands is actually allowing us to now go grab the seat at the table, starting from JVP to get to the meaningful activations and working through the setup.
All right, Abi, we're going to get to the topic that you're very excited about. I've always thought of Walgreens as being rather innovative in terms of its approach to in-store retail media. I think back pre-pandemic when I would walk into the Walgreens around the corner from my office at Dearborn and Madison, and I would see the wonderful digital screens on the cooler doors with products that would explode seemingly off the shelf and give me tremendous visuals. So why don't you give our audience a flavor for what Walgreens is doing from an in-store retail media perspective? What are you trying to do philosophically, and what are the different options that advertisers have to leverage what amounts to your largest the largest component of your overall business is obviously physical store sales. So how are they able to leverage this platform to do in-store retail media?
Yeah, love the question. And Peter, there's just a lot of excitement on the in-store side. And I've seen reports being flashed now from Insider Intelligence, some of the experts coming forward and talking about how it's tipping almost $1 billion in expected investment. And the rate at which it's going to pick up the boats within retail media and the overall spend. Let me just state some facts to ground ourselves in, right, as to why. Today, at least within Walgreens, over 95% of the transactions still happen in store, especially in this convenience segment, right? The store is such an epicenter, integral part of what I would call everything that we do with our consumers. And we are, again, myopically focused on getting that experienced right, both the front of the store and the back of the store pharmacy, right? And what we can now do through the influence of these digital touch points, the thinking, the retail media, let me just unpack this through a few levels. One, we want to kind of enable shoppers to transact in any way they want, right? We talked about buy online, pick up in store, buy online and get delivered in less than 30 minutes, shop in store. We accurately measure a lot of these activities. You can call it online engagements, but it ends up being like in-store purchases. it's so critical for us to kind of make this in-store attribution available for all channels, right? When you think about in-store, and not too far into the future, our vision is to kind of bring this to life through our digital touch points. I wish I could talk about the exact name of the technology partner that we are working with, but it's still confidential. But super excited to launch a pilot in the next month or so with like 30 stores that we are working towards, and being able to get that experience right when they show up at the pharmacy, when they're waiting to pick up their scripts, or going through the drive-through, or even coming into the front of the store, quickly understanding deals of the week, what are some of the loyalty offers that they have that they can stack and not stack, and understand the value exchange to promote the purpose of like buying, picking up those retail items is really what we are focused on. And we know these in-store ads outperforms like other media channels and attractiveness, right? So we have had some really good, solid testimonials, case studies, execution, even starting with shelf tag ads. We work with Neptune and our brand partners to have those physical brand equity ads as well. And we are seeing ton of ROI and conversion. And now we want to take it to the whole new level within that in-store experience and be able to introduce these digital touch points. And you get to talk about not just our brand ads, but we want to talk about our own brands, right? We want to talk about driving penetration into our digital properties. Like, how do you kind of bring some of our Walgreens marketing into play? So we are looking at 70-30 split, 70% of the time on the screens being monetized meaningfully with our brands, but the 30% with our internal marketing. Still, we have a lot of work to do to educate our shoppers with this ultra convenience that we are offering, and making Walgreens the destination top of mind for them when they come in and shop and top of wallet. And we do believe that in-store retail media is going to play a pivotal role. And we're just getting started, but the opportunity to kind of grow into this space going into next year, this is one of our core strategic priorities that we have kind of outlined with our leadership as well. And everybody is super excited because this is really going to bring that store experience and transformation work together.
How awesome, man. Especially we'll be looking forward to the 30 store pilot. When did you say that was? Approximately when?
It's going to be probably launched around early June, July timeframe. Sri, we are still kind of working through all of the details. I wish I could share the actual partner, but I will hold that for the next update.
No, we'll wait patiently to hear back, and we'd love for you to come back maybe late in the fall or winter and then chat about the early beginnings of the in-store pilot. But clearly the next question I'm planning to ask you is, what does best-in-class partnership with you look like? So obviously the in-store element is going to be a part of that go forward. That's pretty clear. But take us through the details. What is best-in-class in your mind?
I think it's a great logical next question right there. We truly believe in what I would call the consultative approach I just talked about, starting with like problem statements. And, I will intentionally say this as well. I'm in the process of like also building the merchant alignment within Walgreens. I will tell you, we came into existence, like I said, like since 4 years since we got launched. And then there was a time where we started with merchant alignment. And then there was a time we went and explored doing things on the side, and kind of backfired on us too, right? Because it then really opened up the kind of worms conversation and like siloed approach. And so in the process of like rekindling those efforts and building the merchant alignment to begin with, and brands are super excited about that, right? And what they're really excited about is that unified contact strategy, so they don't have to go talk to like 10 different teams. And our internal folks are also appreciating that because they can see through the benefits of how it plays out with like all the cost levers and all the way to like contribution margin to the category level as well. I think that's a huge unlock that everybody would appreciate. And then obviously all of this leads into like getting the objectives right with JVPs, what I would call shared objectives, be involved in that strategic planning. I was there at NACDS with our chief of the merchants across all the categories, and we are starting to have these conversations at a more matured level to really talk about the state of the art opportunity, but also not everything is bright and the grass is always green. But quite honestly, in a declining kind of retail situation right now with price inflation and everything going on, the opportunity to really have those transparent conversations and how do you balance out your pricing, where do you come in, how does your margin play would work out, but also have now WAG as one of the omni negotiation lever to get that right. I'm super excited about that. And that really is paving the partnership mindset. And we're trying to grow each other's business and planning up front, like I talked about, and staying ahead of the game like this. And that's allowing us to kind of really pave the way to think through the programs and the spend levels, a strong understanding of what I would call the price value, the convenience levers, and then pivot accordingly for those use cases, aligning on those core timeframes. We are seeing a lot of our customers coming into our 72-hour holiday time periods, and they just go back, right? And we kind of lose them for a couple of weeks and months, and then they come back again for the next 72-hour holiday. And so the opportunity to kind of reverse that churn, and what do we have to do apart from just onboarding our customers, but also look at it from the context of win back, retention. That's actually allowing us to have much more transparent conversations with the brands. And with all these new capabilities I just talked about, we are actually letting our brand shine by becoming the innovation partner of choice to test and learn some of these opportunities as well. And that's where we are seeing a lot of traction, right? And all of a sudden the conversation turns into, I'm not sure if I have funds to I want to jump in and be part of it, right? I want to be first in the market, kind of a test approach with someone like Walgreens like this. And so providing this constant feedback, the data, the measurement, and other needs, along with the value economics, and this partnership mindset is really helping us unpack the needed growth. And we've built really strong relationships through this setup with our brands, and it's obviously ever-ending, but constantly evolving as well at the same time. And so this kind of partnership together attitude will unlock and kind of go after the right opportunities and the growth for us as well.
Abi, as we close out our conversation today, thank you so much for joining us. My last question is, what's got your attention as you think about where retail media is going and how you want Walgreens to be at the forefront of offering meaningful partnership opportunities for brands to engage Walgreens shoppers?
Yeah. First things first, to bring it all together, we should stop looking at retail media as just a new revenue stream. It has become table stakes now. Everybody knows it's a profit enhancement kind of an approach from a retail side. There is a selfish reason, but we're starting to be much more transparent with our brands, and they understand how these value economics play together. Quite honestly, everybody talks about inflation. Everybody talks about all the crazy things going on with price and whatnot, the macro environment, but not many marketers are really talking about media inflation, right? The cost, the rising cost to go after the consumers. And like I said, now retail media is now becoming the means of delivering that customer experience, the means of talking to the customers. If you are enabling that direct access and bringing brands and customers closer together, then the magic gets unlocked, right? They understand the value economics. And so all of this should be grounded with what I would call better measurement capabilities, ability to capture incrementality that'll keep this flywheel going. And we talked about full funnel. Retail media is clearly making the move to embrace this full funnel approach. And we are going head on head. And even with this in-store media opportunity we talked about, we all know how big the linear TV spend was. But wait and see this. I'm sure you two, as industry experts, you would agree to this. But I cannot wait for our in-store media to come and scoop up the digital out-of-home media investments, linear TV investments, to then bring it all in store and kind of kicking off the next wave of growth within retail media, which then articulates and validates this $120 billion opportunity, right, going into FY27. And the future will be really set on those retailers who have large-scale connected omni-channel offerings, on-site, in-store, and offline, like we talked about. And that's what I'm striving for personally. That's what we are excited about. And then I would also advise that you stay grounded to playing to your strengths. Don't try to cut, copy, paste what others are doing, right? And for example, we know that what Amazon has done in this space is not something we want to go replicate, but we want to play to our strengths. And there are assets that we bring to the table to drive this growth. And that's what we are focused on. And that leads into what I would call then the last, but the most important thing. I think we have gone through the maturity model where you cannot afford to put the cage anymore, like what we used to do in the name of retail media. Guess what? If you put the cage, you will disappear in the chart because brands have other retail media networks to go work with who can be much more friendly and driving this partnership mindset together. And with the increase in RMNs, like I'm pretty sure as we all are talking, there's one more RMN that's being established at the moment. And so wait for things to go towards consolidation. Standardization will become table stakes. Retail media becomes more of like access to the consumer data, and nobody has patience to log into like 15 different platforms. If you have not started working towards making your inventory available in some sort of like a commerce platform that agencies have access to, how do you kind of make this media buying and execution seamless? That's really where the future is going. And for the retailers who are getting all of this right is where people are going to really see the opportunity kind of showing up and winning. And last but not the least, I would also say it's going to be a little provocative, but I do expect some kind of a consortium kind of a trend shaking out with this kind of consolidation that we just talked about. Because you're going to have like 100 different RMNs, but you're going to see they're all grouping themselves into some sort of category specialists. And we are seeing just like how Walmarts and bigger retailers are thinking about store within a store concept. And you saw what Target did with Ulta. And so we do see opportunities where we can probably partner with other RMNs, like that doesn't directly conflict with us and what we enable, and staying focused on our health and wellness destination and becoming the leader in that space. But we do have opportunities to be open about it and build that ecosystem and make it all easy for the brands to come and buy media and get hold of the audiences in a meaningful way to drive the ROI.
I heard Abi say over here that there needs to be alliances of some sort, a consortium. Do you think the CPG guys have a role to play in that, Abi? I'm just kidding. We've been kind of advocating for that for quite a bit. Let me remind our audience that all of our content can be found on a web browser by simply typing cpgguys.com as the URL. If you think you or your company has some thought leadership to contribute to our community discussion, drop us an email at contact@cpgguys.com. Again, that's contact@cpgguys.com, and maybe you can join us on this podcast just like Abi did. Don't forget to drop us a rating at cpgguys.com on the navigation bar up top. Thank you for the 31,000 plus followers on LinkedIn. Without you, this podcast doesn't exist. You make this show. Abi, thank you for making time on a Friday morning to record with us.
Thank you, Sri and Peter. Appreciate it.
Peter, thank you always for joining me. Do you want to do a quick summary? Because this was all about in-store retail media and the future hanging there. Do you agree?
I think Abi covered quite a number of important highlights, talking about establishing an insights to action framework to predicate their go-to-market strategy. A lot of that involves understanding that to have a powerful tech stack, you need powerful partners. So bringing in the likes of the Trade Desk, Epsilon, and now LiveRamp to help enable some of that, and moving from beyond campaigns to actually thinking about customer lifetime or customer long-term value, and the customer journey is a core component of making this a true brand valued asset to help the branding experience, and understanding that it's being able to talk about both brand building equity capabilities, but also the bread and butter traffic and conversion activities. That's what a full funnel retail media platform enables. That they want to make their audiences as available as possible to advertisers. So having a self-service model and a partnership with the trade desk where their audiences can appear for programmatic activities is going to be the holy grail of success. What I really liked about the in-store that he talked about is they look at that as not just a mechanism for brand advertising, but it's a huge opportunity. I think he said upwards of 30% of that is about Walgreens advertising its own message about what it brings to the equation, all of its different transaction capabilities, and whether pick up in store or ship to home or anything else like that. It's a powerful mechanism. And that's where most of their shoppers are still going. And this is a great opportunity to not only monetize and amplify brand messages, but to amplify their own messages to help make Walgreens a more valued partner and retail destination for their customers. The last thing I'm going to say is he kind of played something we've been talking about, which is reducing friction in the industry, enabling more seamless media buying to make retail media a true media asset, and that for a lot of things to happen, friction's got to be taken out of the system. Fragmentation's a big friction. And Abi predicted what we've been saying all along, and there has to be some kind of consortium or consolidation to make it easier for advertisers to execute national campaigns without having to engage with 20, 30 different retail media platforms. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen at scale. So it's better to just understand how you enable that being a part of the scaling and not necessarily being the only component of it. But great conversation today.
Peter, thank you for that. I expected nothing less from Abi than a fabulous conversation. I'm glad he focused heavily on in-store retail media because it's been lacking here on the CPG Guys. That's a wrap of this episode. See you soon on another episode of the CPG Guys.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.